This matter comes before the court today on Ms. Delgado's motion to terminate a protective order granted in favor. I am sorry, Ms. Garcia's motion. Let me try to get this straight. I granted a protective order in favor of Ms. Delgado. Ms. Garcia is moving to terminate the protective order at this time. So I will have the both of you at this time state and spell your full name for the record, please.
Yes, mine is Ari Alexandra Garcia Salas, Maruquen.
And could you please spell that?
Yes, A-R-I, and then my middle name is Alexandra, would be A-L-E-X-A-N-D-R-A, and then Garcia Salas would be Garcia-Salas. That's a whole last name.
Thank you very much. And may I call you, what do you prefer to be referred to as? I have you on the screen as Miss Garcia. Miss Garcia Salas, what do you prefer?
Yeah, Miss Garcia is perfect. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And Miss Delgado. You're muted, Miss Delgado. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Go ahead and state and spell your full name for the record, please.
My name is Marisela Delgado. It's Maricela Delgado, Delgado.
All right. Thank you very much. And we are here today because I granted Ms. Delgado a protective order based on alleged text messages, I think, or threatening messages received. And Ms. Garcia says the document is false, and basing that on that she hasn't threatened to call ICE and doesn't know the immigration status of Ms. Delgado, and is basically refuting that. So anything, and then there is some additional material here about presence at restaurant Cinco de Mayo, that there were texts back and forth, which appears to be Ms. Delgado's workplace. So I guess the burden is on you here, Ms. Garcia, to, I'll let you lead off. You're denying the texts. You're saying you never have texted her, or clarify for me what, or you just didn't text anything about the basis here, trying to interfere with her employment or threatening to call immigration and customs enforcement.
Yes, I will clarify. Yes, we have had contact with each other. She, about 2 years ago, she invited me to her apartment. I've never threatened her about calling ICE. We have my partner has a child with her, and the child was out of the country for about 3 to 4 months. And I believe she put a PPO because she wanted the child to stay longer in Mexico. And she wanted to have the excuse to say, hey, my child can't go to your house because your wife has a PPO. The incident about she's reported that we had an incident, that there's a police report and all that happened about 2 to 3 months. That was like in November.
And actually, let me swear you in, Ms. Garcia, so I can get this on the record. If you would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, you may continue. 2 or 3 months ago.
Yes. So the incident was about 2 or 3 months ago. And the police report, they said that we could proceed with the PPO, and she didn't proceed with the PPO at that time. So I don't see what's the point of putting a PPO three to 4 months later after the incident. And she's saying that she's afraid of coming out of her house. And she also texted my partner saying that, hey, I'm not going to let you see the child because I want to resolve this problem with the PPO first. And then the child arrived Friday, and she texted him, hey, come get your son. Take him to get a haircut. So I don't understand why she's putting a PPO. All I want is the PPO to be removed from my background check, because that's very important to me. I work with children, and I work with the government, and I don't want that to be on my.
Yeah, and where are you employed, Ms. Garcia?
I'm employed with Evita. I'm a behavior technician.
Okay. For who again is the company?
Let me tell you the name. I'm currently I have a job, so I'm working with Amazon, and then I'm working with, it's ENTIVA. It's a behavior health.
Okay, and you think they run a background check? Now, I can tell you that, if they're running one, and of course, there are all kinds of different background checks. The PPOs do show up in the law enforcement information network, but they don't show up as a charge or a conviction. They only show up as a protective order. I used to do these for employers where I'd review those background checks, and I typically would just ignore, the existence of a protective order, unless it somehow impacted, directly that person's employment, if they had a protective order against another employee or something of that nature. But, they don't have a huge amount of legal force, and they also don't remain in place for very long. And once they,
I understand.
Run out, they get removed. So,
yeah, I understand.
But you'd like it gone. You don't think there's any basis for it, and most important, I think you're denying that.
Ice on her. I would never do that because of my own. I'm an immigrant. I came here, and I would never insult or accuse someone of calling ICE. That's something that I wouldn't do personally. So I don't see why she would put that on the PPO. And I am 100%. She doesn't have any proof of that. We have had contact. She has texted me. She has texted with my baby, with my father, with my husband, with my boyfriend. I never interrupted him. I never said, "Hey, I don't want you to be texting her or anything." There's text messages between them and all that. I see it. He shows me the messages because he's like, "Here, this is, you live with me. You have respecting you and all that." And so, but I never interfere with that. So, and I've also gone to her house where you see the child has came to my house. He's gone. He has came here. He never goes with any bruises. I've gone with my parent to pick up the child. I stay in the car. I don't have any communication with her. I just go with my husband. That's it.
All right. Very good. Let me hear from Ms. Delgado.
Okay. She says.
Let me swear you in, Ms. Delgado, before I forget you as well. If you'd raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very good. You may proceed.
Okay. She says that we've never had altercations, but yet they're involving a 11-year-old in this. First of all, how did they know where I worked? If it's been so long since. She says that I don't text her. Me and her partner have messages in between, whatever. How did they find out where I work? They had to involve 11-year-old to find out where I worked after so long. I just don't get it. If she says there's no issue, there's no problems, why go to my work job? Why do that after so long? Like, I don't understand.
Well, you mean coming down that she says we just went to eat at the restaurant?
I went to go to Mayo. She works at.
Well, hang on. I'm going to give you a chance again, Ms. Garcia, but let me hear from Ms. Delgado first. Go ahead, Ms. Delgado. You work at Cinco de Mayo downtown?
I used to work there. I worked there for a week. Then after a while, I moved on to Soho. My sister texted me. She says, "Hey, you can't believe who's here." I was like, "Hey, what?" Well, Ari and Andrea are here. Ari and Andrea are my exes. Well, like if you can say one of them is my ex. They're both the father of my kids.
Okay.
There, you can't believe they're here, blah, blah, blah. They're calling me names, saying I'm fat, blah, blah, blah. They're actually, the managers from her job and my job are willing to give the video. They were calling, Addie was calling me ugly, saying this, and calling my sister saying stuff to her too. The managers had to tell her, well, in my job, had to tell her to leave because she was just there doing anything, just calling me stuff. So they had to tell her to leave. She says that she doesn't have a problem or blah, blah, blah. Why? Okay, you already went to Cinco de Mayo. Why go to where I work?
You mean so she's been to your next job as well?
Yes, correct.
And what's the second job you work at?
I work at Soho Sushi.
Okay, the sushi restaurant?
Yes.
Which one is it?
On Moreau.
Okay, yeah, I kind of know where that is. All right, and you're saying the same sort of situation where she comes to eat there?
Yeah, at first they went to Cinco de Mayo and then they headed to Soho Sushi. My manager had to tell them to leave because they weren't purchasing their anything, or they didn't want anything from there. They just went to go see if I worked there. I don't know the reason they went there. I really don't care. I just don't want for her to be showing up at my work. I can get fired for that because it's dumb to show up and to involve an 11-year-old to find out where I worked. Her and Andrea, my exes, are their current girlfriends. My daughter called me from school and she said, "Hey, Mom, you're not going to believe this." I was like, "What happened?" She's like, "Andrea, her friend, my ex's current girlfriend, had my daughter driving around to find out where I worked. So they thought my daughter told her that I worked at Cinco. So that's why they went there first." So they were driving around to find out where I worked. Like, I just don't understand. She knows where I live. This is the thing. Why go to my work? She knows where I live. Like she said, I know where she lives. Blah, blah, blah. Why show up at my work job? Like, I just don't understand.
All right, and what about the threat to call ICE? Where does that come from?
I used to have a lot of messages. I don't tend to save messages. Her husband or boyfriend or current whatever has said a lot of stuff to me, and I've showed her and I told her, "Hey, there's messages that were deleted because of my phone." But he did tell me that she said that. And also there's a Facebook. My friend called me, what was it, Saturday, I think, or Sunday. There's a I would like to show that if they can also see the videos from Soho and Cinco, and I would like to show that image too, where it says in Spanish it says "Maje, tú tan creída," but yet you can get deported. Like that saying in English is "You think you're all that, but you can get deported." You know what I mean? Like that
They're
kind of.
saying this at the restaurant.
That's on her Facebook.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. Let me go back. Ms. Garcia, you sound like you wanted to respond. Well, first of all, why go to the two workplaces? You're muted, ma'am.
Okay. So I went to Cinco de Mayo. That's true. That's not true that we went around looking for her job. That's not true. Andrea is she, as you see, she had a PPO before with Maricela because she was stalking her and insulting her and sending her messages and all that. We did not go around looking where she works. Andrea knew she worked there, and we went to Cinco de Mayo. I did not know her sister's hours. We went in the morning. We went to eat in the morning. Her sister, I didn't even talk to her sister. I went out and we were eating and I was relaxed. And then suddenly I get a call from my husband saying, "Hey, why are you yelling at the restaurant where Maricela's working?" I'm like, "I'm not making anything. I'm eating. I'm calm. I don't know what she's talking about." She also texted me saying, "Hey, what are you doing?" There's text messages right here where you can go,
I did get a string of text messages. However, they're all in Spanish, so I had no idea what they said.
Yes. She said, "What are you doing at my job?" I said, "What are you talking about? I'm not at your job. I'm Cinco de Mayo." She said, "Yes, act like you're stupid. And what is your problem? Why are you so mad? ¿Qué pasó hace años? Ve a la casa con tu amiga." She said, "Come to my house." I was like, "You are crazy. Please leave me alone. I'm eating." your sister, why are you lying that I'm screaming and doing a whole show at the restaurant? Okay, sounds good. Ya me mandó. She said, okay, that sounds good. My sister sent me a video of what you're doing and asking for me and telling my daughter where I work. I said, leave me alone. That's a long time ago. She said, and then she also texted me, hey, can you meet me at Rosa Parks in 20 minutes? So I don't see why she's saying that she's just afraid of me, because she told me to meet at Rosa Parks, and there's a video of where she came and she grabbed me from my hair and pulled from my hair. And her sister also texted my husband saying, the text messages are right there. She said, hey, tell your girlfriend, where is it at? She said, hey, your wife just had a baby and she's over here making a show. And then he was like, oh, you too, you're coming to me telling me that she's making a show? Just grab her from the hair and that's it. And then the sister said, bring her to me, I'll got her. And that's when they told me to go to Rosa Parks, and that's where they start fighting with me. I don't have any issues with her. I don't know what is her problem with me. I don't know why she invented that I was making a whole drama at her restaurant, calling out her name, screaming for her. I would never do that. I have 3 children of my own. I don't have time to do all that stuff. I watch my kids. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I also work. So I don't know why she would be saying that I went to her work looking for her. I don't have time for that.
What about this second workplace, the Soho Sushi?
So, oh, yes. I did go while I went to there. I purchased a soda. They never asked me to leave the restaurant. None of the restaurants have asked me to leave. Cinco de Mayo, they were apologizing for the inconvenience of what the sister was doing. There was the waitresses. They said sorry to me, and also the supervisor. I talked with the supervisor. I told her, hey, I don't know why she's saying that I'm screaming and yelling. You see, I'm just sitting and eating my food. I don't know what she's doing. She said, oh, yes, I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. Blah, blah. She kept apologizing. I went to Soho Sushi, and I went and I seen her, and then she said, what are you guys doing here? And I said, why did you call my baby daddy telling him that we are doing a show and screaming out for you? You know that's not true. We went eating. And plus, we were not at the restaurant. Now we are at your restaurant. Now you can tell him that we are at your restaurant, because we didn't go to your restaurant first. We didn't even know your hours. And I purchased a soda. The supervisor there, or there was another lady there. I don't know. She's the waitress or the owner. And she let us talk. I talked with Maricela, very calm. I never got asked to leave the restaurant. So she's lying. There's proof. You can ask for the videos.
Well, she says she has the videos, and they're going to show some sort of confrontation.
Yes.
Can you show them on the? Can you play them right now, or?
I don't have them. My manager said that I would have to ask for permission, or you guys ask for permission or something, because they can just show them to me. So both are willing to send both of the videos for you guys to see them.
Yes.
My manager did have to tell her to leave because she was just standing there. She asked her if she wanted to purchase something, and that's when they gave her the Sprite. She said, yeah, can I buy a drink?
Girl, I brought the soda. I have the purchase on my account. I said, hey, give me a soda because I'm thirsty. And then we left, and I never got asked to leave the restaurant.
Sure. But it sounds like, I mean, here's the thing I'm driving at, Ms. Garcia, is that you went there because you wanted to be at the same place Miss Delgado was to have some sort of conversation with her at least.
Yes, because she's lying, telling my husband that I went to her job, screaming out for her name, saying, "Hey, where's Maricela? I want it. That's what she texted my baby daddy, saying, "Hey, your wife came out screaming. They called me from my job, telling me that she's screaming." I have the text messages. I wish we had an interpreter, because the text messages where she's texting with my baby daddy, she's saying, "Hey, they're calling me from my job, telling me that your wife is screaming like crazy." And he said, I can't do nothing about her. I can't control other people's actions.
Well, and that's, it occurs to me here, the guys at the center of this, I think you both have kids with him, right?
Right.
And, he's kind of the go-between for some of these messages and stuff, but he's not present to, to give me any input on what's going on here. Well, I mean, what I need to find today,
Would you like me to call him, Your Honor?
Call him, no, unless we got him on video or something. And
FaceTime him right now. He's at work. That's why he wasn't able to be here. But he said he would be able to testify and testify against what she's saying, because it's a lie. I wasn't at the restaurant. I also have my friend where she was there, and she at first she says, "Hey, I'm not going to let you see your son because we're going to resolve this about the PPO." And then Friday she sent him a message saying her sister and her both texted him saying, "Hey, come get your son, take him to get a haircut, he's back." And then his sister was like, "Hey, weren't you asking for, worried about your son, or wasn't it like, weren't you, there's something about you wanted to see your son so fast, and come get him, what time are you coming for him?" And so I don't understand, they just lie. I just don't want to keep you on my record, Your Honor. That's all I want.
All right. Well, I mean, here's what I have to do is I have to find that there were two incidents of communication here. And in this case, and importantly for the part of the PPO, is they also have to be two non-continuous, in that if it starts, and it sounds like it did start at Cinco de Mayo and then it moved to Soho Sushi, but that would all be a single incident as far as the law is concerned, because it all kind of happens the same day and it's following on. Is there a second incident that I should consider?
No.
Ms. Delgado. I'm going to Ms. Delgado this time because she's the one that's got the burden to provide a second separate incident, that would be harassment or threatening behavior.
Right.
It's just been going on for years. I'm really over it. Like, I don't know what else to do. Like, she's always assuming things that haven't been helped going on, and I'm just tired of this. I just want to be left alone. That's pretty much it. Especially at my work job. She can show up here at the house. I don't care. But my work job, that's, to me, why show up there? Like, I just don't understand. And to be involving a 11-year-old to see where I worked. Okay, you went to Cinco de Mayo to eat. I get it, what you ate there. But you went at Soho to buy a drink. When you had just eaten at Cinco de Mayo, it doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't.
You lied.
All right. Well, what I'm going to do today, I have heard the testimony, and I do. It appears this was all a single incident. I can't find, and I do recall reading this PPO and finding, the other thing was the threat of deportation, because that's the sort of thing that, particularly in today's political environment, anyone would take seriously. But I'm not. I do hear that there was some, a situation with a child overseas, and that, the legalities of the PPO might have, impacted that somehow. But nonetheless, that is a far cry from a threat to turn the other person in, to Immigration and Custom Enforcement and have them investigated or deported or things like that, which would be threatening for anyone, whether they were, had legal status or not. No one wants to have ICE on their doorstep going through their papers and threatening their family. So, however, there's not enough evidence to find that occurred. I do find that the restaurant incidents occurred. However, that's a single instance. So what I am going to do is I'm going to terminate the PPO effective today. I am going to direct you. This will be to Ms. Garcia. You shouldn't go to a workplace. And if you do go there, I mean, it's just one restaurant. It doesn't sound like you have a particular love for Soho Sushi or the food there or anything like that. Avoid the place where she's working. Because that can only lead to a problem at the end of the day. I really can't, I said these protective orders are not very effective. They're not going to, create a friendship between the two of you where there's a long history of conflict based on a very good reason. It is on, you have shared, father of your respective kids. And to some extent, that kind of forces you to work together and forces you to work with the same guy, who I will note is not here. And I think I read somewhere in the documents, well, he doesn't like to get involved in confrontation. So, he's kind of sitting it out. And unfortunately, letting the women battle it out, where, he's probably, involved in some of these conflicts himself, at least in some respects. So, and if we have to, you can go through. Do either of you have a custody order or anything like that with Dad?
We live together with the kids. He lives with me. We live together. Santiago now lives with his mother, so they don't have a custody yet. They don't have.
There is no order in court.
No.
Those things can lay out some more specific ways of contact and communication.
Right.
We have a service called Our Family Wizard that is monitored by the court, that kind of keeps things.
Right.
Allows you to communicate about the kids, but doesn't allow you to communicate about anything else. So if you want to avail yourself of that, Ms. Delgado, I certainly would advocate for it, because my observation of that, I have, forced some families to communicate through that, and it works, because then you got, a judge or referee looking over your shoulder about the appropriateness of those communications. But I can only find one incident today, so I'll terminate the PPO effective today. However, I will say, if you do go there, that restaurant, Miss Garcia, it doesn't appear there's any reason to, then I would invite Ms. Delgado to apply for another PPO, and I'll grant it, because now I know the backstory of the case. That happened one time. It happened over the course of one day. I don't really see the point in it, other than it was pretty desperate that you did want to communicate at least. But going to a person's workplace, that can only, just like if she showed up at your workplace, that would have a destructive effect probably on, your job, because, an employer, they just want to keep people working at the workplace business. They don't want to bring in, any outside confrontation. So obviously, I don't see any reason that either of you have really to go to the other person's workplace. Looks like you can stay, away from each other, with the exception of those interactions, involving your,
I have a question.
the common dad. So try to do that. Let's try to keep the peace, without a protective order. But if it becomes necessary, for either of you, for that matter, to file for it, the courthouse is open, so you both know the way to go about that. So
I have
yeah, go ahead.
So would I be able to? So the Jose would have to go get the child one of these days, right? I would be able to go, right? Because I don't get off the car or anything like that. I just go with him. We pick up the baby and we come back home. But I've never had in any communication with her. I stay in the car. And would there be an issue with that? I just want her to know. And
no, now that the protective order is terminated, if you're going to ride in the car, that's acceptable. You two should just refrain from communicating with each other if it's going to turn into a confrontation, and like you say, it's very difficult to communicate when you're trying to go through a third person, particularly if that third person's not very willing to participate in the communication. Then that muddies the waters quite a bit. When you have common kids, there's gonna and common father there is gonna be inevitably some degree of interaction with him anyway. However, I would say the best way to ensure that that's the way both parties want it is to enforce that contact through a custody order through the family court, because those last longer. A protective order at best goes for 6 months, and then you got to extend it, and it doesn't cover every situation. Whereas when it's primarily about custody of a child, the family court, the parenting time order and things like that can really put some guardrails around that. And I would suggest that is the right way. So, all right. Thank you all for participating, and I appreciate everyone's input. With that, we're concluded.
Okay, thank you.
At the conclusion of the hearing, the court terminated the personal protection order, finding that there was only one provable incident of harassing conduct: the sequential restaurant visits on a single day, which did not satisfy the statutory requirement of 2 separate incidents necessary to establish a pattern of harassment. The court found insufficient evidence to support the allegation that Ms. Garcia had threatened to contact IC, noting that while such a threat would be taken seriously by any person regardless of immigration status, Particularly in the current political environment, the evidence presented did not establish that the threat was actually made. However, the court issued a pointed admonishment to Ms. Garcia, directing her to stay away from Ms. Delgado's workplace and warning that if she were to appear there again, the court would grant a new PPO because the backstory of the case was now established and would not need to be relitigated. This case illustrates several important principles in protective order proceedings. First, it demonstrates the statutory requirement in Michigan that a PPO based on harassment must be supported by evidence of at least 2 separate incidents of unconsented contact. Events that occur on the same day as part of a continuous course of conduct, even if they involve multiple locations, constitute a single incident for purposes of the statutory analysis. A petitioner who can establish only one incident, however distressing, cannot obtain a PPO under the harassment provisions of the statute. Second, the case highlights the complications that arise when protective orders intersect with custody and co-parenting disputes. Both parties share children with the same man, who notably was absent from the hearing, and the court observed that he was sitting it out and letting the women battle it out despite being centrally involved in the conflict. The court's suggestion that both parties pursue formal custody orders through family court, including the use of the Our Family Wizard communication platform, reflects a recognition that protective orders are a blunt instrument poorly suited to managing the ongoing interpersonal dynamics that inevitably arise when multiple families share a common parent. Third, the court's discussion of the ICE threat allegation is particularly noteworthy in the current political climate. The court acknowledged that a threat to contact immigration authorities would be taken seriously by anyone, regardless of their legal status, because no one wants ICE on their doorstep going through their papers and threatening their family. This recognition reflects an understanding that threats involving immigration enforcement carry unique coercive power and can be used as a tool of control and intimidation in interpersonal disputes, particularly within immigrant communities. Fourth, the court's practical advice at the conclusion of the hearing, encouraging the parties to avoid each other's workplaces and to pursue formal custody orders rather than relying on protective orders, demonstrates a judicial recognition that the court system works best when parties use the appropriate legal tools for their particular situation. Protective orders are designed to protect individuals from genuine threats and harassment, not to regulate the ongoing dynamics of blended families sharing a common parent, and family court custody orders with structured communication requirements are far better suited to that purpose.